The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Paranormal Concept right here on Parasearch UK Radio with your host, Paul Brook.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Concept Show. I'm your host, Paul Brook, and on tonight's show, we're joined by Kerry Greenaway. Hello, Kerry.
Hello, love. All right?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Are you all ready for Christmas?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty there, actually. For once. Yeah, I feel like, apart from the wrapping, I've got to still do the wrap thing, which I freaking hate. But, yeah, I like buying all the presents. I like the tree thing. And, well, you know, I like it when I do it on my own, not with the children, obviously. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm pretty there, apart from the wrapping. And they're away this weekend, the children, so I get to do that this weekend. Oh, I can't wait.
I bet. So, yeah, cool. Okay, right, so, tonight's show, Christmas traditions. Mm-hmm. Have you got any traditions that you, like family traditions, that you normally carry over every year?
We have one that is carried through a few days, quite frankly. It involves a lot of popping and fizzing. And drinking.
I was going to say, drinking doesn't count.
Oh, it doesn't count. No, not really. Not specific traditions that we carry over. I mean, we raise a toast at the table for our dearly departed at Christmas Day, but that's kind of it, really. But most years it's the same old format. I suppose you could call that traditional. You know, canapes while we unwrap presents, and then it's the big tidy up, and we all examine our presents, and then it's like something to do whilst we wait for the Christmas dinner, and then it's film and sleep, and then it's board games and drinking. I mean, I think that's pretty much everybody's Christmas. I think that's a traditional kind of Christmas these days, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I suppose it is, isn't it, really? I mean, when I was a kid, it was more of a case of opening the presents in the morning, have dinner, and then we had to go out to see the family for the afternoon. And it's like, I've just got all this stuff, and now you want me to leave it.
No, you see, my close family is actually quite small, so we're all together anyway. And all my extended family, we don't really worry about going to see on Christmas Day. So, you know, and because the grandparents are all gone now, which tended to be what pulled families together, doesn't it, really, going to see the grandparents? My extended family, no, we kind of get together throughout the year rather than at Christmas. So, so I'm with all my family on Christmas Day, and then on Boxing Day I get to sit and put my feet up and drink and eat chocolates and watch crappy films because my children go to their dads, which is awesome.
Yeah, and then you can chill and relax, eat all the chocolate. Yeah.
And that's the day I actually get umpy if somebody says I'm coming round. I'm like, I'm in my new pyjamas all day.
Yeah, it's one day you want to be left alone, isn't it, really?
No, that never really happens. But, no, it's, I would think that most people have that kind of rough format of Christmas Day these days. And I don't think traditions are really, you know, what we would imagine as a tradition as a family is that kind of format. But the other little traditions that we have in our home, you know, like the Christmas tree, like stockings, like the baubles, you know what I mean? Why do we give Christmas cards? All those sort of things are more the traditions, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been looking into some of the origins of them, haven't we, Kerry?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. about 20 minutes ago, wasn't it?
No, I have been looking at origins of things all day, you know.
Right, okay, cool. So let's start with the Christmas cards.
Christmas
Tell me
cards.
Christmas cards.
Christmas cards is an interesting one because I don't actually see the point in them, quite frankly. So don't ever expect a card from me.
Because you just see the Christmas text or put it on social media, can't you? Really,
That's kind of what you do these days, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
That's what I tend to do.
a blanket post to everybody, you know.
Yeah, or the stupid messages you get through Messenger now with like, oh, I've thrown a snowball at you. Now you've got to throw it to 10 of your friends. And it's like, really?
Well, those kind of things die when they come to my inbox. I never, ever pass them on. So just letting you know that, everybody. For those of you that have tried sending me one, it dies in my inbox.
Inundated by snowballs now.
I probably will, yeah. Have a snowball fight? No, thanks. I'll just stand here and get covered in snow and look like a snowman. But that's fine. But no, I mean, personally, I don't see the point in them. I just see it as a huge marketing thing. And actually, when we looked into this, it kind of was, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely. It was started in 1843 by Sir Henry Cole. And he was a civil servant who basically set up the Public Record Office, now known as the Post Office. He had the idea of the Christmas cards with his friend John Horsley. That's it. Mm-hmm. And he was an artist, and they designed the first card and sold them for $1 each. So,
how much does that equate to?
Probably about 5p. In today, but you know, everyone nearly sends Christmas cards out, and you know you can buy them in big multi packs now, and
yeah, so. I do like it though that this particular tradition is sort of slowly fading out. People are going, I'm not bothering to do it. Can't waste my time doing that crap. Writing cards out to hundreds and hundreds of people. Whereas, like, I think back in the 70s and 80s, it was such a big thing, wasn't it? You would end up with hundreds of them.
You had snail mail then, didn't you? Raw mail and all that.
Yeah, and it was a way of keeping in touch and in contact with people you hadn't spoken to all year. So I kind of understand why that took off so much for people. But I say in this day and age, I think what with ecology and, saving the environment and stuff like that, and particularly with the technology we have these days, there's no need for them. But I just saw this as, I could understand why it took off, because it does help you keep in touch with people that you haven't seen. It must have been a huge money-making scheme for these guys.
They must have made a mint.
You would think so. Maybe they didn't. Yeah. Maybe people were a bit like, why do I want to send a card? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but... hey, innovative idea is all I'm going to say on this one.
Absolutely. Why not? If you're going to make money, why not?
Yeah, and Neil Cook in the chat room has put, and hang them all on string from one wall to another regarding cards. Or you would have a tree thing that you would have to sloth them in. Do you remember the tree things? Sorry, I've gone off on one about cards. Yeah.
You used to be able to buy little, the dolly pegs.
Yeah.
You used to be able to buy dolly pegs to peg them up on the line.
You'd end up
you have
like
little Yeah, you would.
And I
remember that from.
I'm glad that all my friends and family now have sort of like got the point that I'm not going to do that. So I don't get hardly any. And if I do, they end up in a pile. Now I never put them up. I always put them on a pile on the side, and I never get offended if someone doesn't send me one. I don't see that. I remember. Yeah.
I remember as a kid, after Christmas, we used to take out all the cards down and we'd cut out the pictures and use them as gift tags for the following year.
Yeah, but then that was like, I remember doing that too. But it was a time where, money wasn't probably so affluent, so it was the sort of thing you did. I mean, let's hope to God we never have to go back to those days, and we'll all be going, please don't send me an electronic card. Send me a real one. I need it for the gift tags next year. Oh, dear.
That's funny.
It's things like that. But they're memories from old, aren't they? I don't think... I mean, I know that they used to do the post thing at school, where, my kids would, write out cards for all their class and put them in the post box at school, and then 2 kids would get chosen every day to walk around and hand out the cards to each class, and That was more a primary school thing. Now we've hit senior school. I'm really hoping they don't do it, because they kind of expect me to do the writing. And I'm like, no, they're your friends. You do it. I don't even do my own friends, mate. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's little things like that you remember that we're going to remember from our childhood, and probably the generation now won't have that memory, which is a little sad. Right. It is a little sad, but it's kind of a good thing for the environment that it's being phased out. But anyway, that's Christmas cards, and it is interesting to see an innovative idea that took off so extraordinarily for these two guys. It's quite a... Yeah, if you're going to have an idea, that's quite a cheap and simple way of doing it, and I bet it made a huge amount of money out of it.
Yeah.
I still reckon the ancestors are like moonpig.com or Funky Pigeon or something like that. Christmas cards have had their day. How can we reinvent our business?
Well, that's it. It's an evolution of the cards, isn't it, basically?
So if you was to choose... hold on. If you was to choose a Christmas card, do you go for the more traditional or do you go for the funny? What kind of card do you go for, Paul?
Me personally, I go for the funny card. I love funny cards. Yeah. And I do actually use the online card companies just so that I can put in pictures of like my parents or whatever and make it fun. Yeah, because like their head on a stick, man or woman or something, is quite funny.
I can see you doing that. I'm more of a traditional girl if I have to buy a card for somebody.
I go
like the slash
all the time.
Slash, slosh, slash, slush. I don't know which word was I going for there.
Just go for both of them. You know, why not?
Oh dear. Right, what's next?
Okay, I was going to go to presents. As we're giving cards, sometimes it's accompanied by the presents. So you can tell us the origins of this one. Well,
presents were all, I thought presents were always given on Boxing Day, right? Not actually on Christmas Day, which is why it was called Boxing Day. But this comes back from basically the Nativity, doesn't it? Where baby Jesus was lying in his little crib of straw. Jesus. Baby. And the kings obviously turned up with gold, frankincense and myrrh. So this is where giving somebody a present comes from.
Do you think they were kings or were they just wise men?
Are you asking for my personal opinion?
Yeah, because it says on the particular website that I'm looking at, wise men, not kings.
I would
some is out there. Do you say that they were kings?
I have to say, I seriously doubt three kings met up and went, "Hey, dude, let's go find the baby Jesus," without a huge entourage of people. I can't see kings doing that. So I would imagine they were probably the leader. You know, they were leaders.
The village leaders or the village.
That kind of thing. I would imagine logically.
Yeah, no, I'd probably go with the same actually.
I think the king thing is probably because, you know, Jesus being born, he was supposed to be the king of the Jews, wasn't he? So it kind of initiates his status, as it were. This baby is king of the Jews, and then he was, you know, like given gifts by kings. That's how high he was. He wasn't just given gifts by anybody. He was given gifts by kings. So I think that's probably where it's more of a symbolic thing of his status, I would imagine, than they were actually all real live and kicking kings. But unless I was there, I'll probably never know. Who do I know? What do I know, eh? But that's my opinion. Exactly.
Yeah. So carry on.
Oh, right. Well, that's kind of what I think, really, on presents. I think that's where it comes from, is the frankincense, gold and myrrh. But I would go back further, actually. That's a Christian origin. If you were looking at it from a paganistic perspective, people used to leave offerings and sacrifices out for, like, the elementals and the fairies and stuff like that. And that's a gift. So giving somebody a gift is honouring them and showing them that you care so much, which is why so much emphasis is actually put on giving a gift. So personally, I think it's sort of like, as with all of these, you can take it back further and further and further, and a lot of them seem to come from a Christian or not that far back origins, but I think a lot of these origins do go back a lot further, and they've just taken it from the most logical perspective, I suppose. But yeah, I would say it probably goes back to where offerings were given, so it sees you through the dark days of the winter, for good luck and health and wealth and that for the coming year. And they would do that. They would do those offerings and those gifts. So to do that for another, it shows that you're honouring them and you hope that for them too. So,
Yeah, okay. You've already mentioned like the Christmas tree. So what?
I might sing.
Yeah, I mean, I was given to understand that it was a German tradition because Queen Victoria met Albert, and obviously Albert is German, and they used to bring in Christmas trees for their Christmas, and that's where we sort of picked it up from. But it goes back a lot further than that, apparently.
Yeah, it does. That's where it became popular. That's actually where it became very popular, wasn't it? It was the Queen Victoria, Prince Albert thing, where she took on his homeland tradition by bringing a Christmas tree. And also they sent him one, a big one, too big to go in a house. So they went, oh, where the hell are we going to do with that? I know, we'll pop it up in the middle of London somewhere. There's a likely spot.
Yeah, isn't that Norway? Isn't that
yeah.
gift from Norway to the, well, I don't know whether it's the royal family or whether it's England as a whole, but yeah, that goes up in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and that is where the popularity kind of hit with the Christmas tree. And if it's good enough for the Queen, it's good enough for everybody else, kind of thing. But it goes back a hell of a lot further than that. So it's one of those traditions that we sort of see it from a more modern perspective, when actually, in actual fact, it's sort of something that's been absorbed and evolved in, because this actually comes back to evergreens, and pagans used to bring a branch, basically, of an evergreen into their home and decorate it, not a whole tree. They used to just go for a branch. And Romans used fir trees to decorate their temples. Yeah. I believe it was Saturnalia.
Yeah, something like that, I think.
I think it was something like that, where they used to use fir trees and decorate them with symbols of good fortune, wealth, health for the coming year. You know what I mean? So a lot of the symbology, it's funny, when I started looking into the baubles that you hang on a tree, back in back in the Roman times, they used to hang like little idol images and stuff like that on the tree. And like again, little offerings of food and stuff on their trees and their bowers. But various countries have different traditions regarding the what you actually hang on the tree. I found a really weird one, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I always thought the baubles represented the witches' balls.
Okay.
That people used to hang in their house, which wards off evil spirits and entities, and is good for the nice little entities that lurk around the forests and stuff. So I always thought baubles was to do with that, but I read one, and I think this was Romanian, which I have to say, when I looked into Romanian Christmases, that's weird, everybody, right? Honestly, don't go to Romania. It is like completely bonkers. They used to hang pentagrams on their tree, right?
Yeah.
And there's a tradition where there was an old lady, and she got the tree in, but she couldn't afford to decorate it. So the spiders at night thought, oh, poor lady, we'll do a nice thing. And they wove webs all over the tree. And so spiders' webs are actually quite a recognisable symbol for Christmas trees as well. Well, you would, but I have to say, it was only after I read the article and I was looking at my tree that I've actually got some that are very representative of that. and the beads on them represent the dew that was on the spider's webs. And I suddenly thought, oh, so when you start looking at the different traditions, and when we start looking at the baubles that we now put on our tree, and we don't really give them much thought, I even found, I think it's Germany, they hide a pickle in the tree. And whoever finds the pickle, it's a bit like sixpence in a Christmas pudding, I would imagine. Whoever finds it gets like a special treat.
Excellent.
A pickle in your tree. See, I'd imagine
Well,
nowadays...
exactly. You'd expect to find one,
You know, who knows? I
Put
would
a tree up.
imagine... Pickle, you know. I would imagine nowadays it's probably like a like a normal pickle kind of ornament rather than a real pickle. You know what I mean? A bit smelly, everybody. But yeah, I mean, I found some really strange things regarding the baubles things. Oh, it was the Ukraine. The spiderweb thing was the Ukraine tale.
Okay.
I knew it was that kind of country because, trust me, they are super weird.
I always thought that the pagans brought in the Christmas tree to basically keep the wood sprites warm over the winter period. That's what I was always told.
That is part
so
of
it's like
it.
a good luck type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Health, wealth, and good luck for the coming year. And so you're making the spirits welcome. Because the belief in the spirits are actually very involved in your life. You know, that superstition was back in pagan times. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So when you start looking at a simple concept of a tree, it goes back and cross-cultural so much. Egyptians used to bring palm leaf tree things in.
Yeah.
Palm, what's the term? It's not a leaf, it's a sprig thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have fir trees, so they used to bring palms in, and they represented exactly the same thing. And resurrection as well. It's all about the rebirth as well. It's very, very symbolic, actually, a lot of what we do traditionally wise, and a lot of those traditions are forgotten, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just reading again about Christmas tree lights because there's different claims to who invented them. But in 1880, the famous inventor Thomas Edison put some electric light bulbs around his office. And in 1882, Edward Johnson, who was a colleague of Edison, had strung 80 red, white and blue bulbs together and put them on his tree in New York. And basically that's birth of the Christmas lights. But in 1890, Edison, his company, published a brochure offering a lighting service for Christmas trees. And he would charge anything between $300, which works out about $2,000 in today's money, to just dress the tree.
It's a lot.
If anyone wants lights put on the tree, I'm quite happy to do it for $290.
Firstly, what competition was there between Thomas Edison and Edward Johnson?
Yeah.
Well, you've got white lights. Well, I've got red, white, and blue.
That's it. Yeah.
And secondly, they both sat down and go, God, people pay good money for this. This is well pretty.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's very patriotic, isn't it? Red, white, and blue.
Oh, very, very much so.
Yeah, so it does actually say there that they were commercially available for a string of 24 lights cost $12, and you could rent lights for £1.50. No, $1.50.
Gosh, but back then that would have been a lot of money, wouldn't it?
It would, wouldn't it?
It would have been a lot.
Yeah,
of money. I always thought they used to put candles on the tree.
Well, wouldn't that burn it down?
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? But when you look at some of the old traditional imagery, going back to the Christmas card thing, they've got, they tend to have candles. But I always thought the same thing as you. I thought, wouldn't that be a bit of a fire risk?
Yeah, exactly. But then we didn't have the fire service in the UK till I think it was 1666.
Wow.
Something like that. When was the Great Fire of London? Was that 1666? Or was that later? 1866 or something?
Oh, we're so good at history. Where's our penny when you need her?
No, I just thought it might have been the 1666 because we didn't have a fire service until that period when they started looking at ways to protect the towns and cities from fire.
From
basically.
what's happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Fire regulations must have started to have come in at that point after the Great Fire of London, surely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even rudimentary ones, you would think.
So let's look at the candles then. So
Okay.
why do we have candles at Christmas? What's their significance?
Basically, to light the way for people. We talked about this a little bit last week, didn't we? They light up the way for people to come home and attract, again, lovely things.
Okay. Well, that's covered candles.
Pretty much. I mean, the use of a flame or a candle flame in any form of celebration or ritual or anything like that is very integral. So it's hardly surprising it's part of the Christmas tradition as well. You know, and even in the old stable, old Jesus would have had a candle, wouldn't he? He wouldn't have been sitting in the pure dark, and they didn't have.
And or maybe his dad or his mum might have done.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine they could play and play with candles at that age.
They'd be fumbling around in the dark otherwise, wouldn't they? Where's the baby? Where's the baby?
They've got a huge star above them to cast the light.
Ah, that's what it was, is it?
That's it. Yeah, totally.
It's just a recognition, basically, I think, that the light will come after the darkness. I mean, you've got to remember the dark days when you go back in time. These are quite hardship times, you know, for a lot of people. You know, obviously your fields aren't growing anything. You know, we've gone through the solstices where we've celebrated and had a big feast, you know, Halloween feast and all that has gone on Samhain, or wherever you say that word, because I never get that word right. And you have a feast and you give blessings at the harvest festival, and you've done all that and you've stored all your food, and you're getting further into the winter now. So you need bright time, you need a good time to look forward to, a celebration, and you need to appease the gods, as it were. So you do that in ways that you can without it being too costly for yourself. And also, you're also getting to the point where some of the perishables are going to go rotten, so you've got to use them up. So you're going to go into harder days before you come out the other side. So it's a way of reminding people that this is a way of passing. This will pass. We will get into the spring. It is coming. And it's significant of that with light, bringing light into anything. So, yeah.
Cool.
That's
okay, so
where I see it from, anyway.
You also mentioned the Yule log, did you not?
I did. Yeah, the Yule log. Again, an incredibly pagan thing, this one was. And it's supposed to burn for the 12 days, so it's a hefty old log, this one.
I've actually got some details in front of me, and it says that it was originally a whole tree. Mm. And obviously they cut it down to represent like 12 days of Christmas, so they could burn for the whole 12 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you said.
And again, go back in time. Most people, although they would have their private abode, they would congregate in like a hall, a mass hall. Yeah. So a Yule log would be burned in the hall. It wouldn't be an individual thing. It would be in the hall. So, and they would again, there'll be a decorating and signifying. Get rid of the crap from the past year, move forward into the new year, health, wealth, all those things would come into play with that. It was hugely celebratory moment bringing the Yule log in for Christmas, because it was going to keep you warm and provide light and for this time, because this is the darkest time. Remember, you're coming up to the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. So it's hugely signifying. And it also was believed that it would ward against, evil spirits and lightning strikes. The ashes were incredibly important for that. after it had been burnt. It, again, hugely symbolic. I always have a Yule log. I don't burn it, though, I'll be honest with you. I don't burn it because I haven't got a burner, quite frankly. But I do decorate a Yule log personally in my home. But that's because I have those belief systems in place.
Yeah. I see that in France it's tradition that...
Thank you.
Yeah,
Neil.
it's 1666.
No, it's
yeah.
1066.
No, 1066 was the Battle of Hastings.
Oh, yeah.
16,
All right.
let's go further London. Samuel Pepys wrote about it. Anyway,
I'm so good at history dates, aren't I?
in France, apparently it's a tradition that the whole family helps cut down the Yule log, and a little bit of is burnt each night. And if any of the log is left over after the 12th night, it's kept safe in the house until next Christmas to protect against lightning, apparently. Mm-hmm. And in some parts of Holland, this was also done, but the log had to be stored under a bed. And in some Eastern European countries, the log was cut down on Christmas Eve morning and lit that evening.
Again,
so there you go. It's pretty much what you said.
It changes per culture, really, a little. It's almost like a tweaked through cultures, but
it's an interpretation, isn't it? I think
it is. It's interpretation of that. I mean, Norse believed that the sun was a giant wheel of fire which had rolled away from the earth and then began to roll back on winter solstice. So they would light the Yule log to guide it back.
Well, apparently, the Yule log is called the Mock in Cornwall, apparently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And reading on, basically the custom of the Yule log is spread all over Europe with different kinds of woods are used, obviously in different countries. England uses the oak as a tradition. Scotland is birch. France is cherry wood. They also sprinkle the wood with wine before it's burnt, so it smells nice when it's lit. In Devon and Somerset in the UK, some people have a large bunch of ash twigs instead of a log. It
must be what's available in your locality.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much common, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably just what's available. If you think, France sprinkle everything with wine, don't they? They just love it. But if you think in Devon, Somerset, it's the moorlands.
Yeah.
So maybe ash twigs are more available than, I don't know.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Oak trees or whatever it be.
The page does also go on to say that there is, some people also sprinkle chemicals on it to let flames be different colours. So they'll put potassium nitrate on it for violet flames. For apple green flames, you get barium nitrate. Vivid green is borax.
Yeah.
Blue's copper sulfate. Oh, bright yellow is table salt.
Which I think most people will probably go for, because I don't know many people that have barium nitrate hanging around their house.
No, but
unless it's used in gardening.
I don't know.
Aren't the nitrates something to do with gardening? Oh, I don't know. This is going into all that word. That
chemistry.
I can't even think of the word.
It's going into chemistry. That's nothing.
No, my luck, I'd find something, think it was that thing, and it found out it was something different and set fire to my house.
Although, favourite Yule log is chocolate. Gotta be said.
Well, these days it does tend to be chocolate, and I remember various times at school having to do that in cookery class. And you would cut a bit off the Swiss roll and stick it on the side, and
yeah, that's it. And just smother it chocolate.
Smother it with icing.
Yeah. Icing sugar on top, and yeah, gonna have to get one there.
Oh, I've just seen some people like to add extra decorations such as marzipan, mushrooms.
Magic one, surely.
That's the only good kind of mushroom to put on a chocolate cake, surely. That's a bit strange.
I don't know, the candy mushroom ones, things maybe.
Oh, what, the little, little squashy.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading that completely wrong. Put my eyes back in.
I don't know, possibly. Who knows?
Or maybe it was marzipan mushrooms.
Well, it could be. Could be indeed.
Oh my God, and I'm sober tonight. Jeepers.
So, should we stick with foods now? We could talk about candy canes.
Candy canes are weird things, aren't they? Because I don't like them. I don't know anybody who does like them, and yet everyone seems to buy them at Christmas. They seem to be quite a thing, don't they?
They just stick on the tree, don't they? That's it.
What, do you ever put yours on a tree?
Well, my mum does. She does offer them around after Christmas, but I don't like them, so...
No, that's what I mean. Why would you buy them?
They just hang around for next year.
It is very quiet. Again, it's an image that you've got. You know, the only thing about the red and white candy canes that I kind of think about when I see them is not so much that, like, when they're straight, it just reminds you of a barber.
Yeah. Well,
Which
apparently...
actually, interesting fact, the reason it's red and white is because it's white for the shaving foam and red for the blood.
Ah, cool.
Anyway.
That's Sweeney Todd's fault, I'm sure. The Christmas candy cane originally originated in Germany about 250 years ago, and they started as a straight white sugar stick. There you go. It says that a choir master in 1670 was worried about the children sitting quietly all through the Christmas nativity service, so he gave them something to eat to keep them quiet. As he wanted to remind them of Christmas, he made them into a J shape, like shepherd's crooks.
That's actually Christmassy. We'll put a bend in the top and a bow on it.
Well, yeah, just to remind them that shepherds visited the baby Jesus on his first Christmas, apparently, at his first Christmas. But, however, the earliest records of candy canes came from over 200 years later, so the story is nice, but probably isn't true. So we don't know.
I think it's just a thing that how can we make money out of Christmas again? I know, let's do candy canes with and we'll say it's the shepherds. We'll say it links to the shepherds.
It's a nice story, and some stories have got an element of truth to it. So could he have just done that? Don't know.
I don't know. Well, however that happened, I kind of don't see the point of candy.
Let's go with that.
Christmas.
That was all right. That was.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, we'll go with that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is written down, documented as one of the earliest records, but we don't really know. No one can substantiate it. That's the word.
No.
That's my word of the week.
Substantiate.
Just don't ask me to repeat it. It's fine.
Oh, dear.
Let's move on to mince pies. I like a good old mince pie.
Yeah, they're okay,
Substitute
actually.
Christmas pudding.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't like Christmas, so it's just mince pies for me.
No, I don't mind a mince pie, but it has to be hot and it has to be covered in custard.
Well, yeah, they're the fruit ones, absolutely.
Well,
but apparently,
originally they weren't fruit.
Mince pies, Christmas puddings were originally filled with meat, such as lamb, rather than the dry fruits and spices they are today. So there you go.
Yeah.
When they were first invented, it was a meat, lamb. Isn't that just like a pie? Like a meat pie?
Like a proper pie, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what makes them so Christmasy.
Well, probably it's like a little tidbit, a little, pre-Christmas, because they usually, you put them out normally for Old Father Christmas, don't you? Christmas. I'll tell you a funny story. Every year we obviously do the tray for Santa with a carrot and a mince pie and a big glass of brandy that he loves. And tucked my kids in one year, and I got, as you all know, I have a hellhound. And so I was tucking him in, and he came upstairs, and he had like icing sugar on his nose, and he'd wolfed down the mince pies that were on the tray, and I'm trying to wipe his nose off so the kids don't see that the dog has had the mince pies. And in my head, I'm thinking, thank the Lord for that. I haven't got to take a bite out of that mince pie tonight. I was hoping he'd had a go at the carrot too, but he's a bit discerning, is my dog. Oh dear, remember that year? That was like... I was thinking, you better not. I've knocked over the brandy. I'll kill you if you've knocked over the brandy. Anyway, that was a side note. Oh, the brandy's always for me. It's never for It's never for Father Christmas or Santa Claus, or whatever you want to call it.
You reckon this year, because of the Kevin the Carrot advert on TV, that many kids are going to want to leave carrots out for Rudolph?
Everybody leaves a carrot out for Rudolph. That's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, but then they're going to have to change Christmas Eve to the Great Kevin Massacre, aren't they?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. They didn't think that advertising campaign through, did they?
I will start that. Facebook will be on up live shortly.
The massacre of Kevin. I've always left a carrot out for Rudolph and his mates, though.
Yeah, but you're going to be kidding Kevin, so you can't give them something else.
Like,
I don't know, lettuce leaf or something.
I used to work for a print finishing company, and they had this fantastic idea one year of putting oats and glitter together to make reindeer food, right? And you can imagine what my front room looked like. It was like a hellhole every time I tried to work this. So you'd have to mix the two together and then weigh out certain things and put them in little bags and then clip it to a card that says reindeer food. And that was the job. So like for the whole of November, this was what was going on in my house. Anyway, like my kids were like going, Mummy, we've got enough to feed like every reindeer in the world. I was like, I'm going to be selling this. No, I'm making these so they can sell them for other children to feed the reindeers. And my little one went, what if they don't like oats? I thought they only liked carrots. And I'm like, oh, shut up. I'm just doing the job. I don't ask questions. Anyway, of course, on Christmas Eve, they had to sprinkle some of this freaking food that I'd made out onto the pavement. Oh, my God. That stuff, well, it gets wet. Porridge on your driveway. It's not good, everybody. I'm telling you now. I kept getting walked into my house. I was not happy. And glitter doesn't go away, as we all know. Anyway, back to mince pies.
Yeah, okay. Right, so mince pies, yep, they contained meat. What else is there about them? Not a lot, really, is there?
Well, not a huge amount, but during going back to Stuart and Georgian times, it became a status symbol. So, like, they would obviously have changed it into the dried fruits and spice mix that we know and love today. But they used to get really inventive. But they were very inventive with their food back then, weren't they? You know, you look at some of the tables of food that those times would... It was a display of status again, wasn't it? So they didn't just do like little round pies like you get nowadays, but they used to have all sorts of shapes and things, and it got very inventive with the pastry and stuff. Like sometimes they even like little baby Jesuses on top, and you know, stars and hearts and flowers and stuff. But again, it's very evocative of the time, isn't it? Because like I say, they were very inventive with their food. When you think of like when they dished up a meat dish, you know, that's where your the hog roast with the apple in the mouth comes in, and birds with the feather plumage coming off them and stuff is still... God, health and safety would have a field day these days. But
they would.
Yeah, you know, but it was very much a status symbol regarding the mince pie. So if you were rich and could afford to do it, then that's what you would do.
Exactly. And it was also considered luck as well to have one a day for the 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's supposed to give you happiness for the next 12 months.
Well, I don't know about happiness. I think it might play hell with your guts, but, go for it.
Well, one a day wouldn't hurt for like 12
They're
days.
full of sugar.
Yeah, but it's only 12 days a year, isn't it? It can't do that much damage.
She says eating a bag of chocolate a day, I can't do a mince pie, but I could do a bag of minstrels.
Yeah. Okay, right. So when I remember when I was a kid, we used to do church parade with the Scouts.
Okay.
And when we used to do the December church parade, we'd have what we called a Christingle service.
Right.
Christingles are associated with Christmas. Apparently, from what I gather, the idea of Christingles came from a Moravian church in Germany in 1747. The minister John de Watteville gave children at the service a lighted candle with a red ribbon around the candle, and this represented Jesus being the light and around the world, basically. And the final prayer for that service was obviously all about the Lord Jesus. But as time's going on, we've changed it slightly. The Christians as well. Mm-hmm. They basically give you now a orange with the red ribbon around it, the candle stuck in the top, and you've got 4 cocktail sticks with sweets or dried fruit like raisins and all that sort of stuff in it. So basically, it represents the orange is round like the world. The candle stands tall and straight and gives light in the dark, like the love of God, apparently. The red ribbon goes around the orange, so it symbolises the blood of Jesus is shed, that he died for all of us. The 4 sticks point to north, south, east, west, as they represent, and they also represent the 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. And the fruit and nuts and the other sweets represented the fruits of the earth. Did you ever get one of those Christingles?
No. I never went to church, though, so...
You should, just for the orange.
Oh, bless you. It's free.
Yeah, free
orange. That's
it.
It's a lovely tradition, isn't it? It's Christmas Eve, we go to Christingle and do your candle thing with the thing, but it's actually quite pagan when you look at it.
It is, and I do think a lot of the Christian traditions come from the paganism of what came before the Christians.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. Agree with that.
It's almost like they took all the best bits. And
I think any faith is good faith, because you have to have some form of hope and that it's all worth something, surely. Wherever wherever your belief system lies, and if this is your belief system and you want to go to church and think that this is that, then rock on. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I've never done this. I have heard of the tradition of people that have done it or do it every year, but I've never done it myself, and I've never taken my children to do it either. But it's becoming again sorry, I've just read the chat room. A growing tradition, I think. But isn't it good, right? At the end of the day, it helps bring the community together. If this is one of the most attended services that a church does, which I believe it is actually, Christingle tends to be one of the most where it's filled the most. Then, okay, so regardless of your belief system, it helps to bring a community together with a like mind. And if it's giving you, if it's bringing in some form of faith, if it's bringing in some form of hope, then it's got to be a good thing. And I quite like that, actually. I quite like the symbology around that, but from a pagan perspective rather than a
Yeah, but then that's where
Christian.
that's where your faith lies, though, isn't it? I think with
Yeah,
paganism, and especially with like you being into crystals and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
rather
know?
than the Christian beliefs.
Yeah, as I say, I wouldn't ever discount anybody's belief system. I'm not that way. I'm, if that you rock on, as I say, you do your thing, I'll do mine, and be respectful to each other in that. But again, anything that can bring people together with fun, laughter, and respect for each other, in however that happens, that's got to be a good thing. You know.
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
quite like the idea.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. And I think another thing that I was looking at actually was pantomimes.
Oh, it's
Christmas
behind
edition.
you.
No, it isn't. Do you know what? Apparently, from what I've always believed, we're the only country that has the pantomime.
Are we?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. We're the only ones that obviously still do it. They might have started off in other places, but we're the only ones that carry it on.
I have to say, every year I take my children to the improvised Christmas panto, and basically it has no story at all. So you've got improvised actors and comedians on stage, and it's this very small cast in quite an intimate theatre, and it is the best. It is so funny. And seeing these actors and actresses trying to improv their way through, and they throw it at the audience, you know, give us themes, and you'll have Star Wars in there, and all the modern things come in, and you can see the actors looking at each other going, how the hell are we going to pull this out? They start with the general concept of, say, Aladdin, and then they have to pull all these other factors in as well. So they're improvising the whole way, and it's hysterical, absolutely hysterical. But these actors and actresses are absolutely brilliant.
I'm so going to have to go one of these. I tell you, they'll hate me.
They probably would. I have to say, they hated my son when he shouted out the Minions. And then all of a sudden they had to introduce the Minions into, I think it was Sleeping Beauty that year they were doing. And their basic storyline was Sleeping Beauty, and he brought the Minions in. And you could see the actors' faces thinking, how are we going to do this? Brilliant. But I do love a panto. I love the fact that it's a mash pot. It's almost like the old school musical, where it's a bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
And you've got comedy in there, you've got singing in there, you've got dancing in there, you've got, drama. You've got so much in a panto. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. And again, it draws in the family aspect of Christmas as well, because they interact with the audience as well. Mm-hmm. Makes it interaction that you don't get anywhere else with the other plays.
No, it really does bring, you see the kids' faces are so involved in it and shouting out, and, it is very much like that. But this actually goes back to Roman times, again, going back to Saturnalia, where everything was supposed to be turned upside down. And this is why men dressed up as women and women dressed up as men, and everything was a little bit crazy, because everything was turned on its head. So this actually goes back to that festival for the Romans. And then we obviously embraced it for some weird reason. Yeah. But don't forget, you go back to the kings and queens, they would always have a court jester and put on great big plays and stuff like that as part of their court entertainment. So it stands to reason it sort of evolved into the music halls, and then came into the theatres, and then became what it is today. And then obviously you've got, the fairy tale stories that came through from the Grimm fairy tales.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the fairy tales are the Grimm fairy tales, aren't they? And they've been absorbed into that. So, yeah, you can see how it sort of got bigger and better, and how it is what it is today. But I have to say, you have to go to a panto at Christmas. Although, I would just like to call out the cost of things in theatres.
Yeah, it does get a bit expensive, doesn't it?
Incredibly.
But it's a night out, and it's not something that people go and see regular, is it?
No,
it's just
it isn't. But the Improv Theatre, I'll give them a shout out because they were absolutely awesome. They do this in the Dixon Theatre at the Palace Theatre in Westcliff. That's where I take mine. I'm sure other theatres do it, but that's where I take mine. I think it was the tickets for that is actually really very reasonable, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So shout out to them guys because they did an amazing job. Every year we do that. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
absolutely.
It's behind you.
We've nearly finished the show. Believe it or not.
Oh gosh,
5 minutes left.
5
so
minutes.
Is there anything on the list that I gave you of traditions that you actually want to cover before we go?
I do want to cover the holly and the ivy, really,
Okay.
and mistletoe as
Holly
well.
and the ivy.
The holly and the ivy, because we all know the song, right? I'm not going to sing it for you.
There's the song.
There is a song of the holly and
Okay.
the ivy. Again, this is a more, pagan thing. To help celebrate the Winter Solstice Festival, which wards off evil spirits and celebrates new growth, which is a theme which has been throughout the evening, really, throughout the show, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not just about pretty. It's not just about that. And holly and mistletoe are also very representative of the Oak King and the Holly King as well, which is an incredibly pagan concept. And they fight for domination over the earth. And so during the winter, the Holly King is obviously in precedence because it's the winter. And then in the summer, the Oak King takes over. And because he's fought him on the solstice, he beats him. And then we go back into the Oak King. So it is really representative of very, very pagan, folklore. Those are. But a holly, again, it got Christianized, and it's supposed to represent the crown of thorns that Jesus wore, and obviously the berries are the blood, the drops of blood. They're very fixated on that, aren't they?
They are, absolutely. But I just think, it's almost like, what can the berries symbolise? Oh, they're red. Oh, yeah, blood's red. We'll have that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what that is. That's a case of that.
Yeah. And the other thing it's the duality of the masculine and the feminine and bringing those together as well. The holly was supposed to be a very masculine plant, and the ivy is supposed to be a very feminine plant. So it's that bringing together of those two concepts within a whole as well. That's why holly and ivy are very, very symbolic at this time of year. Plus also, let's be fair, they're available.
Yeah.
I'm so cynical at times, aren't I? I'm so cynical at times, it's untrue.
You?
I know, right? Oh, dear. Oh.
So what else was it? You said, mistletoe, wasn't it?
Yeah, now, obviously, we all know mistletoe from kissing under the mistletoe, right?
They're quite poisonous as well.
They are. And you're supposed to pick off a berry. Once you've been kissed, you're supposed to pick off a berry from the mistletoe. So you can't just have sprigs of mistletoe. You have to have ones with berries on. Unless you know that you're not actually going to be kissed. I mean, it's up to you. But this actually goes back to the Druids. This actually goes right back. And again, it's all about bringing good luck to the household and warding off evil spirits. And mistletoe is very symbolic of love and friendship. I believe it's supposed to be the plant of Freya, who is the goddess of love and fertility. And that is where they think the kissing under it comes in, because if you kiss under the mistletoe, Freya is blessing you for your union with that person. But you try kissing someone on the mistletoe, it's not easy, right? I've tackled men under the mistletoe before now.
Do you know what? I've actually read the translation for mistletoe.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the name mistletoe comes from two Anglo-Saxon words, missel, meaning dung, and tan, which means twig or stick. So you could translate the mistletoe as poo on a stick.
Okay. Going back to my weird and wonderful, I'm just trying to find the link that I found on poo sticks. There is a place that does this. Hold on, I'm just trying to find the link before we go. Yes, the Poop Log in Spain, Catalonia, do something called a poop log. So I'm wondering if that's where that come from.
Possibly, absolutely. I think that's probably where it come from.
It might be, mightn't it? If that's what the origins of the word mean. Well,
Mine's Anglo-Saxon, so Anglo-Saxon, they originate from here, don't they? So it's got to travel from here outwards.
Well, Anglo-Saxons, don't forget the Saxons came from Europe, didn't they?
Yeah.
So maybe they brought it over and, couldn't find what they needed for it. So they went, mistletoe will do. I don't know. Or maybe they just absorbed something from local tradition into their way. But I just want to tell you this because this is bizarre, right? Because I did look into some weird traditions across the world. The poop log, they call it, right? Children feed the log small treats and give it little water and give it little blankets to keep it warm. Then on Christmas Eve, the children are tasked with beating the log with sticks while singing songs at it. And one of the songs goes, poop log, poop nuggets, hazelnuts and matto cheese. If you don't poop well, I'll hit you with a stick poop log. Well, that's a good song right there, isn't it? Right. So the poop log is then... I know, right? It's beaten. So they then hit this stick or this thing that they've loved and cherished for quite a few days before Christmas. Right. And then apparently it poops out presents and candy. And then this poor poop log is considered like useless and thrown in the fire for warmth.
Okay.
I know, right? So you saying that about the mistletoe, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, dung poop on a stick. Yeah, that could be where they got that from. Who knows, right?
That's it. That makes perfect sense to me. Never going to look at some mistletoe in the same light ever again. That's it.
Oh, my goodness me. Anyway.
So, we're at the end of the show. So what have we got coming up for the rest of the week?
Okay, for the rest of the week on Parasearch Radio, tomorrow evening, we've got Haunted Histories. Now, it's slightly different tomorrow evening. I've got a few surprises up my sleeve for Penny, which she doesn't know about, bless her. If I told her, she'd have an anxiety attack because I wouldn't tell her because they're surprises. I'm interviewing Penny on her show. This is her last show of the year. She's taking an extended break afterwards and won't be back until the 19th of January. So I'm taking the helm on Haunted Histories and I'm interviewing Penny tomorrow night. So join me for that one. And then on Friday evening, oh gosh, this is when the mayhem starts, right? Carl and Mark and myself are in the studio. We've got the lovely Jamie Kreshner and we're going to break down the origins of not the origins. We're going to have a look at the nativity, basically, the biblical version of the nativity. And we've done this before with other concepts from the Bible and had to look at it with fresh eyes. And with Mark and Carl, it could go anywhere. And at least Jamie knows what they like. So we shall see. I'm sure aliens are going to come in there somewhere.
More than likely.
I would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Then on Sunday evening at 9 p.m, it is the Parasearch Radio Christmas party where we're hoping that most of the presenters are going to be there. Because again, that is going to be quite mayhemic, and that's where we take a look back over the past year for Parasearch Radio before we go into our Christmas break, because we have a break until the 7th of January coming up.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Just what I need.
Oh dear. Another break, everybody. Like, he's hardly been here this year, right?
Just don't spoil the dream.
Sorry.
So, thank you everyone for being in the chat room. Thank you, Neil, and everybody else that's commented. And have a really good Christmas. And make sure you leave something other than carrots out for the reindeer at Christmas Eve. Because otherwise it will be the Great Kevin Massacre. That's what I say. So it's good night from me.
And it's good night from me.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.